You're listening to Marriage Minute with Pastors Richard and Donna Spears, impacting marriages that leave a lasting legacy. Hello and happy Tuesday if you are joining us for the Marriage Minute podcast when we release new content every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
It may be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
It may be.
If it's one of those days, thank you so much for jumping in there on the podcast with us and joining us for our new and exclusive content that we bring to you every Tuesday. It gets released. So again, thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to do a recap, a summary of what we've been talking about the last 5 weeks.
Which are the love languages.
The love languages. And just as a reminder, nearly everyone wants to show their spouse that they care. I know I want to show my husband that I care. He wants to show me that he cares. If there is a sticking point for you in that statement, get a hold of us at marriageminute@revivalnow.com because we need to do some ministry with you. All things are possible. So it's your marriage isn't dead in the water. It just needs God's resurrecting power in and through it. Amen.
Yeah, and it also needs to be, your commitment and desire to see something changed.
Absolutely. And just to let you know, we all struggle at how to show our spouse we care, how to show them love. Richard and I struggled with that for many years, can we say decades probably? A couple decades. We struggled with, what is God's plan for our marriage? How do I show my husband love? How do I break the bondages of my past and my mindsets of the past in order to bring in just this beautiful thing called marriage into our life, which we all deserve. So one of the things that really helped Richard and I show each other love and show each other that we care is learning about these 5 love languages that Dr. Gary Chapman had brought forth. And he's got a book out there. And Richard and I did take the quiz. We'll give you the results at the end of this podcast and give you the link. But it's just such great, they're just gems in the area of relationship and marriage. There's very few people or ministries out there that I would call on for advice and for counsel, and obviously God's word is number one. But Gary Chapman is one of those, and we're just so thankful for his book and his research on the 5 love languages. And those are
so the first one is words of affirmation, which prior to taking the test, that's the one I believe that was your number one.
Alrighty.
So we'll reveal the new love languages, and at the end, like you said, quality time is number 2. Physical touch. These aren't in any particular order. Just kind of going through them. Physical touch is the next. Acts of service and receiving gifts. Those are the 5 love languages. And kind of like what we've been saying is that these love languages are really tools that you put in the toolbox. And what's amazing is as we've been going over this with you over these last 5 weeks or so, the amazing thing is that they work. And you may not think, if I do that, is it really going to make a difference? It'll trust me. It makes a difference.
Yes.
And if you start to develop and hone these skills, as it relates not to the ones that actually make you feel loved, because what you feel loved doesn't necessarily mean your partner's going to feel loved by doing what you like.
Right.
You actually have to discover what they like.
Yeah.
And so as we do that, and then we begin to implement and to put those into practice, my, what a change it does for how your spouse feels. It's so encouraging.
They're going to notice.
Yeah, they're going to notice, and they're going to be encouraged by it. And they're going to feel loved by you because you're actually taking notice of the small things, the things that they say, the things that they respond to, and how they respond. And you're noticing those things and how they're hitting the mark, so to speak.
Yeah, so let's just jump in, and we're going to give you a quick summary, a rundown of what we talked about over the last 5 weeks. If you want something more in-depth, go back and listen to the podcast before, and then Pastor Richard's going to jump in at the end with why and what learning these things about your spouse can really do. What are the benefits of learning how to love your spouse well through these 5 love languages.
Yeah.
So the first one is words of affirmation, which I believe is my number one. We'll let you know at the end of this if it's still number one, because we change, our needs change and whatnot.
And not only that, but we actually learn more about ourselves.
We do.
As we kind of dig into this, we learn more about ourselves and how we really tick.
And we're healthier.
We're healthier.
I could have taken this 20 years ago, and it would have been so skewed because of my brokenness issues. So words of affirmation is expressing affection through spoken words, praise, or appreciation. This is when someone's primary love language. When this is someone's primary love language, they enjoy kind words and encouragement, as well as uplifting quotes, love notes, and cute text messages. You can make this person's day by complimenting them or pointing out what they're doing well.
Yeah, and I'll do that right now. So Donna does so many things well, especially in our ministry at Revival Now and our marriage minute ministry that she and I have together. She is such an awesome person at the administrative side of things. I can do it, and but I'm not like great at it. But I'm good. But she's like better and best. And so
thank you.
And so she's really awesome at that side of things and getting things organized and put together in such a way that just makes things flow and it's very easy. So she's like super great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
that. At that type of thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the next one's quality time. This is a person who, love and affection, it's expressed by someone's undivided attention. I mean, quality time, yes, it could be you're going out to do something, whatever, but it's also about, undivided attention. It's this person feels loved if you're present and you're focused with them and on them. That's the key here. It's not just about the event. It's about being present and being focused. So this means, put down your cell phone. If you guys are, stop watching television. So you could just be in your house. I mean, quality time doesn't necessarily mean you're going out to dinner every time.
Right.
It could just mean you're spending undivided attention time for that person so that they know that they're loved. You're making eye contact. You're actively listening. It's listening, not hearing. We talked about that. I don't know if it was on, I think that was in our live stream broadcast. But anyway, there is a difference between hearing and listening. And then you want to just affirm them, what the other person is saying, and refrain from offering advice. Sometimes, Donna likes to do that just from a female perspective. She just wants to vent and just to share what's going on inside of her. So it's the same for the person who quality time fills their tank. They may not want your advice. They just want you to be there to listen. And so those are some examples of what quality time looks like.
Another one we talked about, number 3, physical touch. A person with physical touch as their primary love language feels loved through physical affection. Aside from sex, but it can be, sexual intercourse and all of that.
That's got to be a part of it.
They feel loved when their partner holds their hand or touches their arm or gives them a little massage at the end of the day. Hugs them
kiss.
when they come in the door. Just an unexpected, hug or hand holding, even especially, out in public and in front of other people.
Right.
Their perfect idea of a date night might be cuddling on the couch with a good movie. They simply just want to be close physically. They get charged by the physical touch, not necessarily sexual touches, but also the non-sexual touches as well.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
So acts of service would be the next one. So, for a person that feels loved by this, they appreciate when others do nice things for them. Things that may be like, that they know they have to do, but it's like drudgery. It's like, I have to do this. They know they have to do it, but when that person who sees that acts of service for them is like, off the chart, that's just something that fills their tank. For Donna to come by and do something that I know I have to do, but she does it for me and it helps me, it's like, that's so huge.
I don't know if this fills that ticket or not, but last night, we do a live broadcast through the ministry, through Revival Now on Tuesday evenings, and Richard takes the Tuesday time slot and I'm Thursday mornings. But I knew he was outside. We've got some work going on at our house, and I knew that he needed the time to do what he needed to do outside. So I was open to going and covering his time slot for him last night. So I don't know if that fills your tank in that way. I mean, I knew you're still doing something.
It filled my tank. It did two things for me. One, it filled my tank for sure because I know, last night was my night to cover, and I take that as it's an important personal responsibility for me to do that. And I just appreciated the fact that knowing that we're having some things done around the house or whatever, that you were willing to take that spot. And I could have still done it, but it would have put. So here's the second thing it did for me. It helped remove some stress off of me.
Absolutely.
So that was also a great thing as well. So anyway,
awesome.
And other things like that might be like, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, running errands, vacuuming, putting gas in the car, washing the car. Those are all different types of things that, someone could do as an act of service.
Right. And it doesn't mean that you are absolved from doing anything, right? Like
No.
we still have the house to maintain. We still have chores to do.
Exactly.
But in those times where I can help offset or even do something a little special for him as an act of service, it means a whole lot to him. So.
Oh, yeah.
And then receiving gifts is our last one we talked about last week. Gift giving is a symbol of love and affection for someone with this love language. They treasure not only the gift itself, but also the time and effort the gift giver put into it. People with this love language, they can often remember every little gift they've ever received, which is so true, from their loved ones because it makes such an impact on them. And what we mentioned last week, it's the sentimentality. It's the sentiment of the gift because a person where receiving gifts is their primary love language, they are looking at you have given up time to go and look for this thing, and they know that you're thinking about them.
Let's say, I'm just thinking like something like, this may not be you, but it might be. So let's just say you love salted caramel chocolates. And I know that about you. And you like them from this specific location, this specific place. You love the taste, you love the texture, the consistency. And so I go out of my way to go to this place that's maybe not in the town that we live. I'm running an errand or what. I'm like, I need to stop by and pick these up for you because I know you love them.
Right.
That's what we're talking about, the sentimentality of this, because
I know you're thinking about me.
Right, because I know you love that.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I'm willing to go out of my way and pick that up for you because I know you love those things. That's kind of what we're talking about as an example.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So talk to us now about let's just say, okay, I'm bought in, our listeners are bought in, I want to really try to do this thing. But help me to understand why. What are the benefits that can come from learning these 5 love languages, learning what your spouse's primary love language is, and implementing that? What can I benefit from that? Or what can my relationship benefit from that?
Like we've been talking about, and just I'll reiterate again, we're trying to help us learn, all of us learn better on how to love another better.
Love each other well.
We're loving each other well is what we're really trying to teach here. By implementing these tools, learning these tools, and getting them in place in our lives. And so when we do that, whatever the love language is that our spouse feels loved by, it promotes selflessness, right? Because I'm not thinking about me.
Yes.
I'm thinking about you.
Absolutely.
And so it promotes selflessness. And that's a very biblical principle. Jesus came and he served.
Yep.
He didn't come to be served,
right,
but he came to serve. And so that's what this promotes. It promotes selflessness. And that's a very important thing. That's the benefit. That's making you a better person. It's making you a person who is willing to lay yourself down and sacrifice yourself for someone else, your spouse most importantly. It creates empathy.
Awesome.
And so with empathy, you can empathize with the person, right? You actually are willing to step into their shoes.
And you have to.
Because you have to know them, you have to learn them, you have to understand their desires and their likes and their dislikes and all those things. And so you're empathizing with where they're at in that, and you're wanting to do something for them that helps them to feel loved, because everybody has a down day here or there.
Absolutely.
You know, and when you can step in and do something like this that meets their love language, and you're empathizing, that's going to lift them. That's going to encourage them.
Absolutely.
So that's another benefit for the relationship, you know, when we're doing that.
So it creates empathy, it promotes selflessness, and honestly, it really just it maintains intimacy, because when you're seeking to understand your spouse in a way that really truly speaks to their heart, it's drawing you close together. You know, it creates more understanding and ultimately intimacy in our relationship. So we not only
it's like a deeper level.
Exactly. So we're learning about one another in ways that we didn't know before. And we connect, like you're saying, in a deeper, more meaningful way. And so that's when you feel that deep heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul, spirit-to-spirit connection.
Yeah. I was thinking of this movie that we've watched before. It's like one of my favorite movies. It's Remember the Titans. Do you remember that movie with Denzel Washington? And I remember in early in that movie, they'd gone away to camp. And, of course, it was dealing with, you know, segregation and racism, and they were blending at school together with blacks and whites together in the same school. And so the problem is that each side was not getting to know each other. And so Denzel, who was the head coach of the football team, was basically saying, look, if you guys don't get to know each other and to know your families and all these other things, then, you know, we're going to 3-a-day practices. I'm going to make this harder on you. And so the point to all that is that through that process, even though they were forced initially, they became brothers in a sense, right? Because they began to really start to know each other well.
Because they spent time with one another.
And they spent time with one another, and they got to know each other, know more about their families, their likes and their dislikes, and began to see them as real people.
Absolutely.
And people that had, you know, they had cares, they had concerns. And it's the same thing here. You know, we're learning on it. It's an intentional act of really getting to know our spouse better.
Exactly.
And it means a lot.
Exactly.
It means a lot.
It does. Which in turn, what happens is when I'm learning about you and you're learning about me, we grow. So we grow in selflessness, we grow in the empathy and compassion area, and ultimately we grow in maturity and in the Lord and in those things that will help benefit and be a positive impact on our marriages.
No doubt. I mean, you know, I'm not saying it's like this in all society, but you just see elements of this in society where people are just self-absorbed. You know, it's all about me. It's all about what, you know, you can do for me.
They're
what am I going to get?
Completely unaware
What's in it for
of
me?
anyone or anything outside.
They're so self-absorbed that they're not looking out, right? Which that's what we're supposed to do. We're actually, you know, if we are, you know, it may get them outside their comfort zone. They're forced to grow. You know, when you're doing and meeting the needs of someone else, it's getting you out of your comfort zone and causing you to open up.
Yeah.
Which
I know that's happened for me.
Well, I tend to be more introverted. You might be more extroverted than I am, but I know you're not as introverted as I can be.
Right.
And so for me, it does get me out of my comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And stretches me, you know, to grow and not just stay the status quo. You know, this is who I am. And this is
anytime
all I'm
that
gonna do.
you have a thought towards another person, your spouse specifically here, and learning to understand them better, you're growing. And it's going to I think it's a natural reaction, a natural consequence in a good way to learning about your spouse and what their primary love language is.
So the last benefit that we'll share with you that really implementing these love languages do work and they do help, and there are benefits to this, is it shares love in meaningful ways, right? I think we've kind of touched on this a little bit already.
Speaks to the heart.
It's really speaking, you know, to the heart. It's more intentional. It's more meaningful. You know, it's like I'm saying I love you in unique and special ways, and it's not just the rote. You know, go get you some flowers.
Right.
Not that you don't like receiving flowers, but let's say if your acts of service, you know, it's not acts of service, but receiving gifts is something that fills your tank, which that isn't like high on your particular list. But if I just, you know, went and got you flowers every so often. I mean, I could just keep doing that over and over and over again, right? But where's the intentionality?
Right.
There isn't any. I've actually made it easier for myself.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So you can see that using that as an example, it becomes too robotic, too automatic, and we lose a little bit of the creativity, the intentionality of learning more about our spouse, and really starting to dig into what really fills their tank in unique and meaningful ways. Absolutely. And so it's just listening for those little things.
Absolutely.
That helps them to know.
Yep.
So they're really cool benefits.
Yeah. So to wrap up, though the majority of us have one or two dominant love languages, each of us, technically, we speak all five. All five they do impact us in some way or another. And it is ideal that we know how to speak all five love languages to our spouse. Physical affection, quality time, acts of service, kind words, gifts, that all mean something. It's not like they don't mean anything.
But let me just throw something else in there. Yes, it is for our spouse because we're talking about marriages, right?
Exactly.
But these love languages apply to all of our relationships. It applies to our children,
friends,
our friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we need to understand what actually fills their tank.
Absolutely.
Because if we're loving others well, I mean, primarily we want to love our spouse well, right? But beyond that, we want to love others outside of that.
Absolutely.
So knowing all the gifts and how they work and function means something.
Exactly. And we just want to make sure we're prioritizing, your spouse's primary love language, their preferred love language.
Correct.
So here we are.
Is it time? Drum roll, please.
Da, 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 da. So I'll go over my results first. We took the quiz. It only takes maybe 3 minutes to take the quiz. Depends on how long you think about each question.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, do you prefer this or this? And then you click one and you move on to the next question. It's really super easy. And we'll give you the link here in a minute. But as expected, my number one is words of affirmation.
I'm not surprised.
I'm surprised by my second one.
Okay.
Maybe not so much, but my second one is quality time.
Now, what did you think your second one was going to be?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe acts of service.
Okay.
But I think as I've gotten older, and I cherish more, and I realize time is short, and my mind has shifted, and my heart has adjusted to spending the moments that we get together.
But can I just come back to the quality time, because it is spending time together, but when we are spending time together, it's uninterrupted. It's undivided attention.
I want your attention, and I want you to be there with me in the moment, even if it's just 2 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were just driving back from someplace today.
Yeah.
And I was on my phone doing some things in preparation for a trip, and she goes, "Can you just put your phone down and be present with me?"
Yeah.
That's quality time.
Yeah.
Even though we were just riding in a car together.
And
you wanted me to be present with you.
Yes. As an example, I could have just stewed and been upset about it and fussed about it, but what did I do? I communicated.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is what we talked about. I let him know what was on my heart and what I needed at that moment. The car ride was probably 20 minutes left or 15 minutes left. And I just wanted, we didn't necessarily have to be talking about anything. I just wanted us to be together in the car without the phone, without this and without that.
Yeah.
So So I'll just go over those first two. Words of affirmation for me.
What was your number three? Just so we
physical touch.
All right, so that was your top.
Which
three.
I love, holding your hand and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. So okay, words of affirmation number one, quality time's number two, and physical touch is number three.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, my top one was like acts of service, like
no
by a landslide. I think this one actually surprised me in that I was thinking like I was battling with physical touch on my top one, but that wasn't really the case. So anyway, acts of service was my top one. Words of affirmation kind of shocked me.
I think that bumped up from the last time
you
took that.
It's bumped up because I find, and as I was taking the quiz, when you're giving me words of affirmation, you're telling me you appreciate me, or you're noticing something that I did and you really like that, or anyway, just very positive, encouraging comments. You're proud of me, you appreciate me. I've just found that actually fills my tank.
Awesome.
As well.
We'll hang these up in the office so we don't forget.
So that's like number two for me. So that one kind of surprised me because I thought that was maybe like 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's number 2 and a pretty strong number 2. And for me, physical touch is my number 3.
We got the same percentage on physical touch.
Yeah, same percentage on physical touch. So both at 20%.
Yep.
So those are our top 3.
Awesome.
So thankfully, we match on physical touch.
Right.
We basically like the same amount.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Words of affirmation, which is kind of cool. That's your top one, but that's my second one. So
Right.
that's kind of nice. And then acts of service, where we differ is acts of service is big for me, but quality time is big for you.
Yeah. Yep.
So
absolutely. So
anyway,
awesome.
So that's our top 3.
Yeah, so it's fun to find new things out, and like I said, some of ours has changed over the years. Our primary, I think, love language has stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep that in mind, folks. So you can take the quiz at www.5lovelanguages.com/quizzes.
Yeah,
So
and
that
that
was
5 is with the number 5,
Yeah.
not spelled out 5.
So you'll find it, just 5 love languages. You can Google 5 love languages and it'll take you to a Gary Chapman site where you can take the quiz. It's not hard to find.
Just look for quizzes and then you'll be able to find it. And
Yeah.
you can take it according to whatever. So if you're not married, you can take it, maybe you're single and you're looking for a relationship, or if you're in a relationship, then you can take it from that perspective. Or if you want to take one for your family, I think they even offer quizzes from a family perspective.
I think I'll send this link to our group, our text group in the mornings, our family, our kids.
Yeah, I think they'd like that.
All right. So if you have any questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, we love all of those. You can email us at marriageminute@revivalnow.com.
You can also connect with us from our website at revivalnow.com
Watch live.
media. And then under media, there's like watch live, where you can watch us live from our website. You can watch us on demand there. All of our previous content from live streams is there. You can actually go to the Marriage Minute podcast page, and then from there you can connect to all of our podcast platforms that we broadcast to. And you can watch us live on Facebook and YouTube at Revival Now Dan Steep. And then you can also watch us from the Revival Now app, or listen to or watch our on-demand content from our app at Revival Now. And you can get that on the Google Play Store as well as the Apple Store. So a lot of different ways that you can connect with us. And we're actually broadcasting live on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. New York time. So I keep saying New York time because I know we have an international audience.
Yes.
And so that way you can kind of connect with us based on that. So anyway, it was great to come to you again today.
Hey, get the word out, like and share our content. We want this to reach far and wide. We want marriages impacted positively by the Word of God and by our experiences. We desire to bring just the Word into marriages and just have a renewing and a restoration for your marriages out there far and wide. So like and share our content. We thank you for listening. We love you, and we'll catch you next week.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening today. Catch all of our podcasts at revivalnow.com. And send us your Marriage Minute questions at marriageminute@revivalnow.com.